Hello and welcome back to the Chatco podcast, where Connor and I usually discuss media in the form of topical-based discussions. Almost fucked that up instantly then, or reviews. Usually solo, it's usually me. Sometimes Connor gets involved, sometimes he doesn't. I think I've had 2 so far with him, but either way, I'm your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes. Obviously, Connor is sidelined for this one because this is his week off. Technically speaking, he's had more than a week off with the fact that Alex did last week's as well. But you know, I'll let him have some time off. It's nice to have a little solo review every now and again. Less worrying about trying to get him here to record. Either way, I'm gonna hopefully minimum is 2 for this. I've got 2 things I want to talk about. Obviously, one that recently came out and is divided very heavily, both critically and audience-wise, and then one that finished last week. Been running for a couple of weeks now. About 3 weeks, I think it's been running. So 4 episodes and 2. Then about 3 weeks. So those are my minimum 2 things. I'm not going to say what they are just yet. I mean, you can probably gather what they are very quickly there if you're quick enough to brain to work. At this time of the day, mine doesn't work that quick, so I'd be going, what the fuck's he on about? But yeah, so I'm going to talk about them. And then the other 2, if they don't get them in this one, then I'll probably do an extra episode. It'd be next week's week after, focusing on them, because it's obviously something I've just recently finished playing. So obviously, my definite for this one is a movie and a TV show. My possible extra for this episode, if not a different episode, is 2 video games. So I'm going to get straight into this, and I'm going to start off with the TV show, which came out in January, and it caught me off guard. So I'd half known about this TV show last year, I think it was. Hayden saw I think it was a trailer pop up on my YouTube feed, and she mentioned it, and I was like, I've never heard of it before, I don't know what the fuck it is. And she was explaining it to me and whatnot, and eventually when it came out, I gave it a chance, I gave it a watch, and I really enjoyed it. And that is Hazbin Hotel, first series. And obviously, if you don't know what that is, it's literally an animated TV show, an adult comedy musical that focuses on a hotel in hell that is trying to rehabilitate sinners so they can go to heaven. Obviously, it's then dealing with not just trying to rehabilitate sinners, also the fact that heaven are heavily against this idea. So it's very gory at times, it's very vulgar, it's very rude, and it's very funny. And obviously, this was based on a YouTube pilot that came out quite a few years ago. I'm not too sure exactly off the top of my head. Hayden will be able to tell me instantly, but she's not in the room because she's off playing Baldur's Gate 3, I think. No surprise there. So yeah, it came out years ago and eventually got picked up by A24. Amazon distributed it. They released the first 4 episodes back end of January. The last week of Jan then got the final the next 2 episodes, and then of course the start of Feb was when we had the final 2 episodes, the finale, and obviously the last but 1 episode. And as I say, it's something that came out of nowhere for me. I didn't really know about it till I think maybe November, December time, and even then, didn't look into it. I don't think I even watched a trailer for it. I think I mainly put it on because I know Hayden was wanting to watch it, and I was like, I'll put it on. We'll watch it. I don't mind watching it. Obviously, I'll probably on my phone or something, but I literally got that invested in it. Sorry, that I've what I missed the first time when I first wasn't fully invested, but then slowly got invested. I've then caught up on by rewatching it before the finale even aired. So I've literally sat through the first 6 episodes because it is a 8-episode series. My mind. I told you, my mind does not work at this point. I sat for the 6 episodes before the last 2 came out. I just wanted to rewatch them. I wanted something to rewatch, and I was like, I know I've just rewatched them, but I can't stop watching this. I think the story's fun, the acting's good, and the music is so catchy. The musical moments are really catchy across the 8 episodes that it just gets you going. I cannot stop listening to the soundtrack at the moment. It's so good. The characters are really good in this. Your main character is obviously Lucifer's daughter, Charlie, and she's the one who's trying to obviously get this hotel working So obviously she's got loads of assistants throughout. She's got a bartender. She's got a prostitute that is trying to help. He's the kind of the one that's the focal point of the rehabilitation at first. Obviously, then there's Serpentius, a snake, who's the second one to be looked at for the rehabilitation. She's got a girlfriend helping her, who's kind of like the bouncer of the hotel. And then you've also got Nifty, who's a maid and also a psychopath. And then finally you have the radio demon, who's kind of the backer of the hotel, helping fix stuff, helping give them what they need to thrive. Of course, there's a lot more to this character that meets the eye. And this series doesn't even fully reveal everything about his character. All you really know about his character is that he's killed some very top dogs in hell since he's arrived. And the only way you know they're dead is by his radio broadcasts that essentially emit the screams of his victims. There's a lot of speculation to backstories and stuff, and there's a lot of like lore. If you can read into obviously how these characters kind of got into hell. It's an interesting, like, there's a lot of interesting character development that's not in the show, but if you read into it, it's there. And so this show then adds on to that by going and actually having hell versus heaven, essentially. It's got a really good cast. I mean, for the fact that got Keith David in it is so good, and he's playing the bartender. He's so good in it. He's got a lot of funny moments. He's got a lot of moments where he's the one that people talk to, because that's the whole point of being the bartender. Is he's the one that people go to and tell their kind of messed up stories to. So he's a very interesting character. I think obviously Nifty's probably the underdog character that is there for a few like humorous moments, but when she does get further into the show, you just go, okay, no, Nifty's like kind of an MVP. She's kind of the strongest demon there is. And of course, there's a lot that this show can then go and do in later seasons. Obviously, with the cliffhanger finale, obviously the last shot of this series, kind of setting up where this is going to go in the next series. But there's a lot of other stuff that they can do, because obviously there's not just this group that we focus on. There's these other groups, the more overlord demons, the top dogs. Obviously, the one that the radio demons are part of now, for the fact that he's killed his way kind of into the group. There's a lot of stories you can be told about them that are yet to be sort of told, because there is quite a few of them. I mean, we really only got the cannibal overlord in the last but one episode, because the cannibals were part of the big heaven versus hell battle. Obviously, there's a lot more stories they can tell involving heaven, for the fact that, again, how the show ended. I'm not going to say anything about it because it's too spoilery. Go check it out and you'll understand what I'm on about. Obviously, there's a lot of they can now address because of this finale, because obviously most of heaven, particularly Adam and his angel army, are kind of dicks, and he's kind of got the backing of higher ups in heaven, because they kind of don't want hell to kind of succeed, but there are some up there that aren't in that same mindset. So there's a lot of stories that can be told, not just about hell but heaven, and realistically that would be interesting. Obviously, they could easily spin off a lot from this show that they can address, and so they could easily do like a heaven spin-off focusing on them doing whatever they fucking do half the time. There's a lot they can do there, and as I said, this show, watching the first 4 episodes at least, obviously made me go, you know, I'm going to check out Hell of a Boss, because I was told that's pretty good, and obviously that's actually got a full series on YouTube, and I pretty much bashed through within a couple of days, if that, and fucking love that as well. So you can easily check that out. It's an easy watch. It's the same sort of style of this vulgar comedy. That one's got a few less musical numbers. Obviously, musical numbers aren't its full focus. There are quite a few in it, but it's not as more focused as this, because Hazbin Hotel has at least 2 musical numbers per episode. And these musical numbers are very focused heavily on what's going on in that episode specifically. So, for example, if we look at episode 4, which is obviously the episode focused on obviously Keith David's character and obviously this porn star character, Angel. Basically, the two music numbers in that, obviously one is Angel's music number, which is literally just showing how toxic his relationship is with his boss. Basically, that's the whole point of that episode, is showing that relationship and showing how this overlord is kind of a dick. Well, not overlord. He's kind of like the step below the overlord, but he's quite high up. And how much of a prick he is. And then obviously the other musical number in that is Angel and Hutch kind of coming together and singing about the fact that they're not so different in life. They're both basically contractually obliged to another demon, and that's kind of fucking their whole deal of life up. So each one is kind of focused around that. So there's a lot then around these music numbers. Obviously, the comedy between these characters. There's a lot of grotesque moments, not like fully grotesque, but there is some moments where you look at, oh, that's quite nasty, like people getting like fucking stabbed and stuff like that. There's a few moments, and I think the finale is one of the big moments for that, because that's when the big heaven and hell, what the whole season's been building up for since obviously the first episode when they met Adam and obviously his angel. From that point, it's then been building up slowly every now and again towards this fight between heaven and hell, because of obviously a death of an angel, and they're kind of like, okay, we're going to come down and do an extermination early, because their whole thing is exterminating demons. They come down every year to fuck them up, but this season at least is about the idea of, okay, we're going to come 6 months early to deal with it. And so the finale is really good because it's just action packed. There's a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of sad moments, but also kind of funny, because there's a big sad moment which is actually quite humorous when you think about it, and it's mind blowing. And then obviously there's the big penultimate moment in it, which is really good. And so there's a lot of the battles, and I mean Lucifer gets involved in the final battle because you meet him in episode 5, off the top of my head. Yes, 5. And he's really good in this, and you kind of get to see his true sort of form as well as Charlie's true form. Obviously, you also get the Radio Demon going full Radio Demon in this fight. There's a lot of like really cool moments and really cool one-on-one moments in this finale, which are just so worth seeing. And the finale in general just swayed me to change my mindset on my rating for the entire show. I had a rating in mind, and the finale just went, no, forget that, Tom. This is your rating now. This fucking... You think about every episode you watched so far. You loved them. Yes, I did. So you know what to give this as a fucking score. I'd say one thing I like as well with this, especially the music numbers, the later ones tend to utilise a lot of the certain specific lyrics from earlier ones and sort of adjust them into the new song. So, for example, there's a song in the first episode called Hell is Forever, which is obviously sung by Adam, and it's basically saying demons kind of sent to heaven, they're stuck in hell forever because they're sinners. That's the whole point. And there's a one in episode 6 when they're dealing with heaven again, and they're kind of arguing for this whole idea of we can rehabilitate them and send them to heaven. And the argument then is, well, no, you can't. Why are we even listening to this bullshit? They're there for a reason. And they obviously reference again that part of the song of Hell is Forever, and they tweak it into this new song. So I like a lot of the later songs tend to tweak some of the earlier songs into working for them. And so there's some really good character development throughout the show, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this goes in the next season, and hopefully multiple seasons afterwards. I will say though, obviously I did watch the pilot after watching the first 4 episodes. I wasn't heavily blown away at the pilot. I enjoyed the pilot, don't get me wrong. I thought the pilot was really good. For me, it was like an 8.5 maybe. It just wasn't as good as the actual main show, but I'm guessing I could probably put that to the fact that there's a lot more people involved now, that it's gone to A24, it's gone to Amazon. I'm guessing there's a lot more people involved here to make it a much better show. And as I said, episode 1 to 8 just blew me away, and you can literally stream them right now on Amazon. It's there to watch. It's about 20-ish minutes, 20-ish. Might be slightly over 20, might be slightly under. Obviously, each episode, I'm going to say 8 episodes, simple binge, really. You can do it in a weekend. You can do it in a day, really. You can just sit through it. And if you don't get addicted to the music, then I don't know what you're watching, because the music's so addicting. So yeah, I think if I give this a rating, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I think what helps me give it a 10 is the fact that the music. I'm not a big musical person, but there is a few that I do enjoy, and I think for the fact that the music in this is so catchy that I can't stop listening to it. I just keep listening to it every single day. The fact the musical numbers look so good, the characters are so good in it, the comedy is hilarious, and it's got a dark twist to it. I think that's why I have to give it a 10, because it wouldn't feel right not to give it a 10. Obviously, since I'm not really spoiling it, I can't really do the favourite moments and the MVP stuff. I feel like if I do like eventually down the line, if I can ever get Hayden back on, I feel like I could sit through and do a full spoiler-ish talk on this show, and obviously that's when we do the actual MVPs and the favourite moments and shit, because obviously that's only there for the full spoiler episodes, and this isn't really a spoiler one. This is just me pointing out a few things that I liked. Anyway, I'm going to move on to my next one, which is another thing that came out the same day as... Actually, no, it didn't. It came out a day before, technically, because there was one showing of this film a day before, but then the full main release was the actual day it has been until finished. And that's Argylle, the new Matthew Vaughn spy action comedy flick. Obviously, Matthew Vaughn, the guy who brought Kingsman and Kick-Ass to the big screen, as well as rejuvenate X-Men with the First Class entry. And this is his latest one, which is very divided at the moment. Critics have fucking slammed the shit out of it. I think there is a few that have said it's good, but a lot of critics have slammed the shit out of this movie. I'm pretty certain it's his like worst rated movies made by critics. Audience have had a better response to it, not as high as I thought they might have been, but the response is a lot better than critics. It's just not through the roof. Like better. I think last time I saw it, for example, if I go on Rotten Tomatoes, I think the last time I saw it was like 71%, something like that. So I think it's done a very much a Meg 2 and Aquaman 2 sort of situation, because both of them were slammed drastically by critics, but the audience gave it a more better response. Not out of this world. They gave it more of a, it's entertaining, it's just not response. But I'm going to go the opposite with that, because I fucking love this movie. It's one that, over the early portion of this year, because obviously it's the third film I've seen in the cinema this year. Obviously I watched The Beekeeper and Mean Girls last month. It's the third one I've seen, and this is the one that, out of those three, was the one I'm looking forward to since I saw it. Obviously Beekeeper, it's another Jason Statham flick. It's got that. It looked decent enough. It's not ever going to be a mind-blowing film, but I was looking forward to it to an extent. Obviously, Mean Girls was the case. I was expecting to walk in and go, oh, it's all right. But I walked out going, actually, it's pretty much better than I thought. So neither of them two were ones that I was... If I had to make a list of the films that come out in the first couple of months... Oh, fuck off. Someone randomly calling me, and it's a random number. Mute my phone. Hate fucking call centre. Does my fucking head in. But yeah, as I said, if I was to make a list of the, let's say, films that are coming out from January to maybe March, fuck off, whatever you fucking were. It would definitely be on said list. I want to see what that actually is from. Reading. Fuck off, you're blocked. I've muted it now. I'll go off again. It probably, off the top of my head, it probably would have gone on the list. I'm just trying to think of stuff that's come out between now and March. February is kind of, apart from Argylle, maybe The Iron Claw would have gone there. Then March, Dune. And Godzilla's coming out early. goes. Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's anything that probably would have pushed out the list. So it's definitely something I was always looking forward to. So it was one I was going to go watch instantly. It's got a really good, big ensemble of cast, and they work really well with what they've got. And so I went and watched it. I think it was the second showing on Friday. It was available, and me and Hayden both walked out just being blown away by how good it was. Like, the comedy is really good, and it's been slammed to hell by everyone for a lot of stuff. But I generally really enjoyed myself watching it, and I feel like that's all that matters really with a film. If you enjoyed yourself with it, fuck what everyone else said. You've enjoyed yourself. That's the whole point of opinions. Like, if you enjoy it, ignore what everyone else said. It means you liked this movie. Fuck it. It's if people think it's trash, then that's their opinion. But you enjoyed it, simple as. And I say I really enjoyed this. Hayden really enjoyed it. It's got a lot to it. Obviously, yes, some of the digital effects are a bit could have been done better. I think that's the only real complaint I could say. Some of the digital effects, you can tell it's very heavy digital. Specifically, the very over top finale, but I'm letting it slide because the finale was just fucking bonkers, crazy, and I loved it. Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard work really well together. They're so fucking funny, and they bounce off each other so well with the comedy and the seriousness between them. I definitely would like to see them do another movie together. Hopefully, fingers crossed, another Argylle, but it depends how well it does the box office. I know last time I saw it wasn't doing very well, sadly. But yeah, so they work really well together. Obviously, John Cena has a few scenes in it. He's quite funny. Henry Cavill is fucking hilarious every time he pops up in this movie. It's so fucking... The editing is really well done in this film. It just... It's just hilarious. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a lot of really hilarious moments where they edit between reality and fiction. Obviously, with the character being forced to see, obviously, the actual fight going down, and then her mind's also switching with the fact that it's trying to counter this by being like, this isn't real, this is fake. Here's the characters you've made up from the book. Those sort of situations, and I say that they work really well edited, and they're fucking hilarious to watch. And it works really well. The story does. I know a lot of people complain about the story, but I really enjoyed the story. M. Night Shyamalan would be shitting himself with the amount of fucking twists and turns in this movie. There's definitely more. The twists in this movie, the equivalent of like 4 or 5 M. Night Shyamalan movies. Vaughn just like I don't know what the hell he was doing, putting so many twists in one movie, but for me it worked. Some of them you can see a mile away, and some of them you don't fully see until the last second. I know that when Hayden and I were talking after the film, there was one that she saw coming about 5 minutes, I think, before it actually happened. When she started, at first she didn't really think much of it, but then she started thinking stuff. Wait, what if this happens? And then it happened. She's like, oh fuck, okay. I saw that literally moments before it happened. So there's some like that. And I say it's generally a really good movie. There's not much I can hate on it. I say the only thing I can say is some of the CGI moments in the finale, you can tell are very heavy CG. But other than that, it's fun. Obviously, the cat's fun to watch fuck up a lot of stuff half the times. Sam Rockwell's really good to watch, not just in his humour, but his action scenes. Henry Cavill's really good in the action scenes, and his very cheesy humour, because obviously the cheesiness is meant to be from the fact that he's not real, he's a fictional character. Obviously, Sam Jackson comes in and does a really good job with the small amount of screen time he's got. Bryan Cranston's great as the movie's main antagonist. You also got the mom from Home Alone in it, which I didn't realise until I was watching it, and I was sat there the entire film going, why she looks so familiar? Got out the film, went, was that the mom from Home Alone? Hey, I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I can see it now. And it was definitely in the shouting that made me go, okay, I can see it's the mom from Home Alone. Who then literally the same day got cast in The Last of Us Season 2, and I was like, what the fuck? She's in everything at the moment. But yeah, I liked a lot of the fictional stuff in this film. Obviously, John Cena and Henry Cavill stuff, which isn't a massive amount, but I liked the scenes you got with them. I liked the reality in it. It was really good. I say the fact that it's also got secretly like it's obviously a spy action film, but at the same time there's also this rom-com side to it as well, and it's just like there's a lot of different genres mashed up in this movie, which, as both me and Hayden said afterwards, it kind of makes you just want to go back and watch the Kingsman movies, because it's got that Kingsman vibe, just toned down for a 12A, since obviously Kingsman was a 15 and Argylle's got a 12A rating. It's definitely got that Kingsman vibe to it. So we were at this point where we're like, okay, I kind of want to check out Kingsman again. I know I'm not a big fan of Kingsman 2. I like it to an extent, but I'm not a big fan of it compared to the first one. The same goes for obviously the third one, but I do kind of want to see him again. Same with Kick-Ass. I mean, I definitely kind of want to check out Kick-Ass again. I haven't seen it for years. So this film's definitely made me go and want to watch Vaughn's other movies again, because that's how much I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of the stuff in there. It definitely, I saw the homage to his other films, and I'm like, okay, I want to watch these old films again, because those homages have drew me back into his line of work. And yeah, obviously it ends on a cliffhanger ending. It ends with a little tease to what's to come, both in a sequel and a prequel. And I'm all up for both. I'm all up for a prequel showing the first book in this series that obviously the main character is writing, and I'm all up for this sequel to follow that cliffhanger ending down the line. But problem is, if not a lot of people go and watch it, that's when I'm going to be fucked, because I was looking at the budget, obviously, of Vaughn's films, and this is his most expensive film, and you can see it with this ensemble cast, with the amount of CGI in it, the amount of action set pieces in it. There's a lot in this that you watch and go, okay, I can see why this is, at this point, is like a $200 million budget compared to all these other films, which I think, from what I was looking at online, X-Men First Class was his most expensive one, up to a point, and that was like 170 million, something stupid like that. But this is more than that, which is crazy to think this is more than a Marvel film, but modern day cinema for you. If you're going this crazy, you need the fucking budget, and he got the budget from Universal and just fucking went for it. And Sam, I want to see more of this Argylle universe. I want to see where it goes next. I want to see where it's been, what we haven't seen yet. But if, fingers crossed, it does what Aquaman 2 did, because that had a very slow start, but did pick up as it went along. The only difference really between this and Aquaman 2 is the fact that there is some films coming out in the next couple of weeks that could slow this down a bit. I mean, I know Madam Web's not signaled to do a really at the box office, but that is still coming out, so that might still take people away from Argylle. Or then again, if that does bad enough, it might put people back in Argylle. You know, fuck it, I'll watch that instead. And you've also got the Bob Marley biopic coming out as well. I don't know how much that's track to take. Not too sure. And then, of course, start of March, you've got Doom Part 2 coming out, because that's coming out a bit earlier than it originally was. So it's got at least another week. Obviously, as I'm recording this, it's got at least another week. But obviously, as this episode goes out, this is its week. This is last weekend of really seeing where it can go at the cinema. Let's say I haven't seen where it's at as of this morning in terms of how much it's made. I'll have a look at that after I've recorded. So it's realistic. It's got until Madam Web comes out to see if it can make any sort of dents. I say Aquaman 2 did well enough over time. It didn't do as $1 billion like the first movie, but it did over 400 million, I think. And now I just literally noticed that before I started on Amazon, it's on there to buy and it's on to rent now. So it's gone through its cycle. So hopefully Argylle goes for the same sort of cycle. It managed to do well enough over the course of its cinema run, not mind-blowingly good in terms of take backs. I think usually it's half the budget, isn't it? So you're looking at, it needs to make at least 300 million to make so it hasn't lost anything. And I think 400 million would then obviously mean it's got at least something back. But then again, this could be the case of, if this does okay enough to actually warrant the sequel and prequel, that's when they might have to look at dropping budget from 200 down. Let's go less elaborate. Let's drop it back. But I'm going to say, it depends on how well it's did. But to give it a rating, I'm gonna give it the same way this gave Hazbin out of 10. That's another 10 out of 10. I generally loved it. It set a bar for me for this year in terms of films, and it's gonna be difficult for some films to pass it. I think the only ones that I'm looking at that come out this year that I can say are gonna have the best chance of beating this, Deadpool 3 instantly. That's gonna be probably the biggest one. Planet of the Apes might be a good shout out. Ghostbusters. Those are sort of the big shouts that I can say might overtake this as my favourite film of the year. But for the moment, it's literally my favourite film. Neither Beekeeper or Mean Girls come anywhere near it. And as I said, this is just my opinion. A lot of people would very much disagree with my opinion on this one, but fuck it, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Again, it's something I wouldn't mind doing a full episode on the podcast down the line when someone's actually watched it, not just me that is able to watch, able to record an episode. I know Connor as mentioned, wanted to watch it because of Dua Lipa stuff, and maybe if he does watch it, we can talk about it then. But we'll see. I do have enough time to talk about other things, at least one of my other things. So if we talk about games, obviously I just literally this morning sat through and finished the Alan Wake American Nightmare game. The little tiny, very tiny for the fact it took me just under 3 hours to play it. Game that kind of is a standalone game. It obviously it's set after the first Alan Wake game, but at the same time it's also kind of just like its own little thing. It's not like you need to play Alan Wake to actually play this game, because if you literally speak to characters in this game and he literally explains the plot of Alan Wake, obviously what happened in that about getting taken by the darkness. So there is that, which I do like with these obviously Alan Wake games. The three of them, they're kind of their own little standalone things. You can just sort of play that one and not have to worry about the rest. So I do like that there's that to it. And so it's a decent game. It's not fucking mind-blowing good. It's not like the first Alan Wake game that like just fucking drew me in, like the story, its unique gameplay, its characters, that all drew me in. It was really cool playing as that Alan, dealing with all this fucking darkness stuff. As I say, including the DLC, and the DLC is very repetitive in terms of set pieces are the exact same from the base game, just in the other side. Whereas this takes you to essentially a newer location. Let's see, your set pieces for this are a motel, you've got a observatory, and you've got a drive-in theatre, and you're kind of dealing with stuff around these little areas. Now, obviously, the difference here is there's a bit more of a slight open world feel to this game. Not heavily open world. There's a bit more of an explorer side to it, for the fact that there's 52 or 53 manuscript pages in this game. You got your TV broadcasts, your radio broadcasts, your guns to find. All this is spread out across these small areas, and each act, because there's 3 acts in this game, they all pretty much take you back to the same areas again. So story-wise, it's after he's been taken to this other side, and it's kind of him confronting Mr. Scratch. So basically, it's evil Alan versus good Alan, and basically you get kind of drop into this kind of motel area. You're above in the cliffs at first, and then you kind of have to make your way down to the motel. Obviously, you're confronted by darkness, and again, you got the same gameplay mechanics: shine your light, shoot away. Simple as that, really. It's very simple to get around, but there's a bit more of a running, gunning kind of feel to this one. Whereas the first one, you could kind of take it very slow. It wasn't really required fast-paced gameplay. Whereas this, there's a bit more fast-paced to it at times, and there's a lot more weapons to this game than there was in the actual Alan Wake game. So, like for example, there's an assault rifle in this game, which I got very late on, but it's fucking good. There's a combat shotgun in this game. There's a fucking nail gun in this. There's stuff that you don't see in the main game. There are weapons that you did see in the main game appear, and there are like everything else, like your flashbangs, your flares, your flare gun, those stuff that were in the base game, they're all here. So there's a lot that's in the base game here, but there's a lot they've actually added for the fact that it's got a more action focus with this one. Since there's a lot more newer enemy variants. So you got like a big guy with like a massive like saw blade. You've got like these fucking weird guys that can kind of split into two when the light shines at them. You got these ones that obviously a bird. The swarms of bird, it can kind of turn into like this weird like monster, and it can turn back into the birds to escape. You also got spoilers to deal with. Ooh, that kind of got me. I did not expect that, and it kind of freaked me out because there's a lot of them. So there's a lot more enemy variants to deal with, and obviously with the gun size of it, you kind of have to find the manuscript pages to unlock the bigger guns. So like the assault rifle, I think that was like 20 or 30 manuscript pages you have to find. I think there's one chest that literally costs about, I think Connor said like most of your fucking manuscript pages to unlock. And they are pretty easy to find, the manuscript pages. Not like it's difficult for the fact that on the actual map it will come up with a question mark and tell you that's where you need to go, that's where your manuscript page is. I think I got to about 45 in the end, so I wasn't too far off, but I know some of them I need you to go back into the other chapters because you can't get them. Even though you're in the same area, it only appears in that specific chapter. So it'd be a case of having to run through the game again. I just couldn't be asked with it because I kind of want to now jump into Control, so then I can jump into Alan Wake 2. But as I say, it's still a fun game. The story-wise, it's not as investing as the actual main Alan Wake game because of the repetitive time loop scenario that's going on. But it's still pretty cool. Obviously, it has a whole live action sequences between each act. And then obviously it ends on a live action sequence to tie it all up, which kind of is a prelude to the actual Alan Wake 2 game, which heavily uses live action. And the story, as I say, drops you in this canyon. You go to this motel. You kind of meet your first character, it's a mechanic. She tells you some stuff here and there. Tell you about the manuscript. Obviously, you use the manuscripts in this. Each section has a essentially tasks to complete. The first one, it's the case of you have to collect 3 things, take it up to the possessed oil rig, and basically disable it that way. So it's like a CD player, it's a battery, it's like a wheel thing for the oil to turn it off. I can't think what it's called off the top of my head. It's got a name, but my mind's just telling me shut the fuck up, Tom. And that's like your first one. Then your second area, which is your observatory, is the case of you have to find the stuff to unlock the telescope. And again, there's a scientist there who's helping you along the way. And your third area, which is the driving theatre, the woman there is kind of possessed, and you kind of have to get the lights back on and get into the projector booth, which is obviously the main focus of this act is get into that projector booth. And every time you do, it kind of sends you back to the first area again. But each time the people you meet pretty much know like it's a new rendition of time, but they still have memories of when you last saw them. So their memories are still there, and it kind of deals with all that shit as it goes along. And each act makes it a bit easier. So it's not the case of, for example, the first act, you basically, as I say, to get those 3 parts, you get those 3 parts, you set it all off. This whole fucking meet your share comes down, the music starts playing, it's like just fucking bopping. And then you have to go to the diner, you have to get some keys, you have to come back with those keys to unlock the doors of the motel rooms. You then have to find another set of keys for the observatory. A lot of that, as it goes along, you don't have to really do. I think you only have to go to the diner in Act 1. You don't have to go there again. You can go around it, but you can't get back in there. It's not needed because it bypasses that in Act 2. It's like, oh, I've got keys for these rooms already, blah, blah, blah. And then by the time Act 3, it's like, oh, you don't need to even do that. Here you go, here's stuff for you. So it saves the repetitiveness in that. So it is a good thing that it kind of eradicates those sides of it. But obviously, it's still pretty much the same case of it's just going from point A to point B over and over again. I'm going to drink, my fucking throat's going on this one. Give me a sec. Oh, the drink I completely forgot I had. And then lifted the can up and realised it was half full. But yeah, it's still a good game. The graphics are decent enough. Obviously, it's an old game, so it's not going to be like current Alan Wake 2 level of graphics. It's pretty much first Alan Wake level of graphics. And it's a fun little, let's say, 3-hour little adventure. You can kind of run past half the shit without having to worry about too much. As I say, it's still fun. Off the top of my head, I mean, for the how much actually is this game? Obviously, I got it through on sale. That's not too bad really for £6. I mean, it's no Resident Evil 4 DLC, which is about roughly the same price and with more hours worth of content. Because I mean, you can get a good couple of hours out of that one. Whereas this, even to be fair, even if I didn't run half of it, I still think it would have still took me less than 4 hours to play it, because I got most of the collectibles. I think there's only a couple that I didn't get. Obviously, in terms of the non-manuscript ones, there's only a couple I didn't really touch. And then I said the manuscript ones, a quick 5-minute exploration, I would have found most of them. But I kind of just went through it as quick as I could because I just want to jump into the actual proper games. So really, as I say, £6 ain't I wouldn't say it isn't that bad. I don't know how much it actually was when it first ever came out, but as of now, obviously it's £5.99. I say that's not the worst price I've ever seen for a game that's literally, I say, 3 hours worth of content. I think in terms of ratings, I say it's nowhere near the first Alan Wake game, but it's still a fun little entertaining game. So I'm going to give it a 7.2. This one, it's good. It's just not amazing, and you say you can just skip it if you want to. It's not really necessary to play, but if you want to just have a little crazy run around shooting some more spooky ghost shadow people, as a new variants of them, you go for it. That's pretty much it. If you've watched Hazbin, watched Argylle, played either of these Alan Wake, American Nightmare, or Quantum Break, put your thoughts on all of them, or whichever one you've actually played or watched, in the comments below. You can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, etc., etc. Most of your podcasting platforms, it's there. You can also check out the actual video on YouTube, where you get to see my ugly mug struggling solo without Connor there to bounce off of. Connor should be back hopefully next week. I do have something in line for us to do, which should be pretty fun, and it just result in actual someone else talking, not just me, for a change. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. You can check out the Alan Wake review I actually did ages ago. I'll put that link in the description below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and shall hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.
If you like what you've seen, don't be afraid to throw us a little like and subscribe. That's always very appreciated over here. And well, I'll see you on the next video.